Good morning. Welcome to the Department of Family and Support Services Children's Services Division Self-Assessment Kickoff Meeting. I'm so delighted to have each and every one of you here today. We're super excited. I do want to go ahead and ask if you have the capability to go ahead and turn your cameras on. If you haven't already done so, please put your name and the organization that you're from in the chat. We're super excited this morning. I would like to give a warm and invigorating welcome to the Self-Assessment Committee members. This is our kickoff meeting, so we're super excited for program year 21-22. So thank you all for joining with us today. Whether you're here voluntarily or you've been voluntold, we're super happy to have you. Who would have thought 2 years ago that we would have been in a global pandemic, which has certainly had its ebbs and flows. Despite the last 2 years, we are still here to breathe another breath. We are here to continue providing quality service for children and families, despite all of the obstacles. Some of those obstacles will certainly present themselves as we have dialogue about our current operations in preparation for the self-assessment report and action goals. DFSS has 3 main objectives that we set out on this journey. The first one is obvious, right? We need to go ahead and complete the grantee self-assessment, which is a requirement of our grants. But in addition to that, by participating on the grantees self-assessment, we're hoping that you develop more strategies and tools to help strengthen your delegate agency self-assessment. Also use this as a networking opportunity. Those who are to the left of you, to the right of you, down or up, depending on where you are on the screen. We're all in this together. And so this is our network for self-assessment. And I'm hoping that you guys will use that as a networking opportunity. The third objective is to make sure that respect is first and foremost. We want to respect each other and know that this is a safe place to discuss the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. What you talking about, Willis? Ugly. This is absolutely a safe space, and we want to respect people's ideas and make sure that that we're respecting one another, even when we don't agree. The self-assessment is one of those Head Start management systems. So it's not just a Head Start thing. Our ECBG funded programs, PFA and PI, also participate in the self-assessment process too. The self-assessment is a method of measuring the grantees and delegate agencies' accomplishments, strengths, and challenges. The self-assessment allows for continuous improvement of program plans, our service delivery methods, and for the enhancement of program quality and timely responses to issues that arise in the community, the program, and amongst enrolled families. The process also provides an opportunity to involve parents, community stakeholders, and for making staff more aware of how the program is viewed for internal and external stakeholders. We're super excited to be on this journey, and thank you all for being on this journey with us. I am going to go ahead and pass it over to Martise Brooks. She is our supervisor of communication and planning. We're super happy to have her on the program admin team, and she's going to go ahead and help us do our introductions so we can get to know everyone. Martise.
Thank you, Tiffany. Good morning, everyone. I hope that you all are staying warm considering the frigid temperatures outside. I hope you're somewhere warm with something warm to drink or eat. It's always fun. So I'm going to introduce myself. As Tiffany just mentioned, this is all new to me, so be kind, extend some grace. I'm not new to DFSS. However, I am new to the communications and planning team, and I do look forward to learning and growing from each of you. So I would like for my team to introduce themselves at this time.
Good morning. My name is Bernice Vargas. I am a program development coordinator. I have been with CSD for the past 4 years. This would be my 5th self-assessment, or I'm sorry, my 4th self-assessment. As some of you might know, Beth Stover would run these self-assessments, so I have learned lots from her. And you have received a lot of the communication from me. I will be the point person for the self-assessment. If you have any questions, you can always go ahead and reach out to me, and I will make sure that those questions are answered, or find someone who can answer them. Thank you so much for being here today. So what made me smile today? That I got here, that my car started. I, saw that it was going to be -6, and I was just worried that possibly my car wasn't going to start. So I'm just happy to be here. Thank you all.
Thank you. That's right, Bernice. Car starting. That's always the that's always the starter. So we have Song. He's going to introduce himself.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Song San, and this is my new team. I hope everyone is doing well, despite the weather that we've been having. I've been here 5 years, and this is my first time joining the planning and teams and the communication team. So I'm happy about it. So I'll see you a bit later. Thank you.
Thank you, Song. So I'm actually going to stop sharing, but I do want you to keep in mind that I do want you to think about what made you smile today. I know it's early, it's not that early, but I know you have something that made you smile this morning. So I guess I could start at the top of my screen. Just unmute and tell us your name and what made you smile today. Janie, did you smile this morning?
Janie Maldonado here at TFSS. I've been here over 16 years. The same as Bernice, what made me smile today was definitely getting here to work and getting my son to school on time. Yep, thanks.
Thank you. Hasi?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jacinta Passament. I'm supervisor for Team A and Team D in program operations. And today the sunshine definitely made me smile. Whenever it's a little cloudy or gray, I think my mood changes. So definitely sunshine made me smile.
Thank you, Hasi. Let's see, Johanna. I'm sorry, I have my teacher hat on, so if you don't unmute automatically, I'm just gonna start calling names.
Hi, good morning. My name is Joanna, and what made me smile today was having my coffee this morning.
Joanna, if you don't mind mentioning where you're joining us from, what agency?
Yes, we're from Kimball Daycare Partnership.
Thank you. Giselle?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Sorry about that. I'm from Kimball Community Partners. I'm one of the family support workers here, and what made me smile this morning, I'm usually the person who takes temperatures. So just seeing the little ones come in always makes me smile.
Welcome. Thank you. Dr. Reggie?
Hey, I'm Jess Reggie. I'm the Director of Health and Safety at Ada S. McKinley. What made me smile, my daughter hasn't been feeling very well, so seeing her smile this morning definitely made me smile.
Thank you. Tiffany?
Can I go last?
Yes.
Amina, it's on you.
Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. My name is Amina White Jones. I work with ADS McKinley. This is actually my third week at ADS McKinley. I'm really excited to be here. The thing that made me smile this morning, I would say my two girls, we were on time for school today. Everybody had their snowsuits ready. They were excited about school. So that made me smile. I had a great morning this morning. And wishing you all a great one for the rest of the day.
Thank you, Ms. Butts.
Good morning to everyone. I'm just glad to be in the meeting. I feel happy today, and that's what makes me smile. Thank you.
That's a good thing. Miss Willie?
What made me smile was just waking up this morning, actually, and then having my grandson here from Michigan. It was a surprise visit, so I'm happy that he's here. Good morning, everyone.
That's always exciting. Miss Kathy?
Good morning, Kathy Wiggins, DFSS. What made me smile this morning is having my chai tea.
You didn't bring me one, so I'm not happy about that, Kathy. Miss Maria?
Wow, a lot of things made me happy this morning, but the one that made me happy and laugh was when Tiffany caught me putting on 2 pairs of glasses. Have a great day, guys.
Miss Daphne?
Good morning, department and delegate agencies or sub-recipients, all you great people out there that service children and families. What made me smile this morning was my husband. Each morning before he goes off to work early in the morning, we have about 20 minutes to kind of have a conversation. So it's always great to have that and smile with him in the morning. Thank you guys. Enjoy, stay warm and be safe.
Thank you. Miss Tracy?
Good morning. I am Tracy Delgado, the program director for Mary Crane. What made me smile this morning is that my 2 teenage daughters really thought they were going to get to stay home because of the cold weather. And they were like, well, you're going to have to go to work, but we're not going to have to go to school. And lo and behold, they still had to go to school. So that was my laughing morning.
Thank you. That was probably all the teenagers across the city. Let's see, next we have Mr. Ortega from El Valor.
Good morning, thank you. My name is Guillermo Ortega from El Valor. I'm Family Services and Parent Engagement Supervisor in Gonzalez Center. Drinking coffee every morning make me smile, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jessica?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jessica Bailey Washington. I'm a support service coordinator for Team B. And what made me smile today is waking up, because it's always a blessing. And I'll be celebrating 2 years being with CSD tomorrow, but I've been with the city for, it'll be 16 years.
Yay. Ms. Carr?
Good morning. Ms. Carr from Judah International Outreach Ministries. I'm the FSW. And what made me smile is a cold morning, but it's a beautiful day. Look at that sunshine.
Thank you. Ms. Robles?
Hi, good morning. I'm Lucero Robles. You can call me Lucy. It's easier with El Valor. And what made me smile today was my supervisor, Ms. Nina. She came in because we lost power earlier in the morning. So our internet's still trying to get up. So we're using our phone. So she came in and she was like, how did you get it to work? And she found me trying to find an angle so that I could turn on my camera. And it was pretty funny, at least to me. Thank you.
Thank you. You have to know how to roll with the punches and keep moving, no matter what. Miss Gannett?
Do you mean Janet?
Janet, yes.
Yeah, okay. Hi, my name is Janet, and what made me smile today was definitely Tiffany's outfit. So that's what made me smile today. You have to show the full thing, the full.
I will, Yanette. I will. I was saving that for my introduction. So thank you.
Thank you, Tamela.
So I have been a little under the weather, and today I was coming in and I was walking down the block and there was a little boy in front of Erie and he was just waving to me. I was like, I'm cold, I'm sick, like, but he would not stop waving, and he stopped when I waved, and then his mom looked back and she smiled, and I was like, okay, God, I see you. Like, I gotta have a great day. So that's what made me smile this morning.
Thank you. William?
Thank you, Martrice. Good morning, everyone. William Hill, Assistant Director here with the FSS. What made me smile this morning, currently I'm on crutches. I had an injury last week. So my son, who's 10 this morning, Little Will, decides to pick out my outfit for work. And so normally I'm helping him get ready for school. So actually this morning he helped me get ready for work, and that did really warm my heart and made me smile. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm not sure, the next one says Moto G Power. You're still muted.
Good morning. I'm Deborah Parker from Garden of Heaven, Heaven's Learning Garden. I'm a FSW. What made me smile this morning is just being alive on the right side of the bed.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Ms. Parker?
I just spoke.
Oh, okay. I see your name in two spots. Two spots. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Let's see. Is it Tonko?
Yes, my name is Tonko Joy, and I'm on the board of CCUO. I'm sorry I came in late, but it sounds like we're saying what made me happy. I don't know if you're familiar with this term, shoemaker's children. Means that shoemaker's children don't wear shoes. My husband is a hairdresser, and that's why I was late, because I finally got a haircut. That's what made me happy.
Thank you. Let's see, I have to go over to the next page. Did I miss anyone? Zariah, don't try to hide.
I was waiting, so my camera's not working, technical difficulties, but Tiffany made me smile today. She was so happy to be part of this meeting. I even asked her, I'm gonna keep my eye on her, see what's really going on with her.
Thank you. And Ms. Purnell?
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Danica Purnell, Site Director of Heaven's Learning Garden. And what smiled today, or what made me smile today, is my jeans are fitting a little looser. I've been in a weight loss boot camp and I saw some progress. So I'm excited. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. I hope, even though this is probably your first meeting of the day, I hope that it goes well and that you're able to take something away from it. So I'm going to pass it. Well, actually, Tiffany, you're going to have to share with us what made you smile today.
Thank you, Martise. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you guys for being here. What made me smile this morning was my outfit selection. So today I said it is a self-assessment party. And when I looked in my closet, I said, this is the outfit to wear.
Thank you.
So I think I made a lot of the staff this morning kind of smile at me this morning. So I hope that I made somebody's morning. But I also like to connect with a lot of people in what you said this morning. Just waking up this morning definitely made me smile. And Ms. Purnell mentioned the weight loss. I got in the gym this morning, regardless of what was going on in my life. And so, we're always excited for things like that. So thank you all for sharing and participating in our icebreaker. We're going to go ahead and put the PowerPoint presentation back on. And then I'm going to go right into the next slide. So as always, we always like to share the mission of DFSS. So working with community partners, we connect with Chicago residents and families to resources that build stability, support their well-being, and empower them to thrive. That's in everything we do, from Children's Services Division all the way through senior years. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it to, well, I guess I'm not passing it anywhere. Look, this is my slide as well. So as far as the self-assessment, the self-assessment is really built on a systematic review. I mentioned that the self-assessment itself is one of the management systems. Community assessment and self-assessment is a management system for the Head Start program. So if you kind of go into the Head Start program performance standards, the Chicago Community Partnership Program through Preschool for All and our prevention initiative as well, there's a self-assessment component in all of our programs. And so that is definitely felt throughout our Chicago Early Learning Standards. So all of our Chicago Early Learning agencies are to perform an annual self-assessment. So this is not just the Head Start thing, this is an every program thing, and we're super excited about that. So some of the responsibilities, obviously, we want to make sure that in order to make this a successful self-assessment committee, we want to attend the quarterly meetings during this year. And so we're going to talk about timeline. We're going to give you guys these dates in which we've already kind of planned out the progress. And so we need your participation at those quarterly meetings. Also, we want you to review the evidence of the grantee performance. We want you to ask questions. Please be inquisitive and identify any program trends, and definitely make recommendations for priority program areas. Your input is valued. Absolutely. We want you to request data. We're going to want you to participate in the interview process. And we want to make sure that you're also documenting as we're preparing for the self-assessment process. So it may be good for you to have a notebook, right, that's dedicated for self-assessment. And that way you can keep all of your notes in the same place. And we can definitely make sure that we're creating meaningful opportunities to pull together all of the data that we're collecting. Provide recommendations for the self-assessment process and the tools that are utilized by the grantee. If there's something that you see, perhaps some things that we could be doing better, we want to hear those things. We want your feedback. We want you to be a part of this process. And we definitely want you to make recommendations for the action plan that we're going to be developing. A part of, the self-assessment process, just like if you were assessing your life, right? It is really taking that good look in the mirror and trying to determine the areas that are going well, the areas in which may need some improvement. And we want to be honest about that. And if there's things that we can change and we want to go ahead and do better, then we're going to put it in our action plan goals. And we're going to definitely need your help in being able to pull that together. We want you to, obviously, once we get the action plan, we want you to review the action plan and also the self-assessment report. Because this will be a collective work, but we definitely appreciate you all for being here. We're super excited to have you. And we can go ahead and go to the next slide. So our planning cycle. So when we think about the planning cycle and where we need to go, kind of our roadmap, and I know that there's a lot of directional arrows here. So first I want to go ahead and start with the arrows in yellow, because I believe that that's going to really tell us kind of some of the foundational things that we're going to need. A lot of times when we talk about self-assessment is grounded in data. And so, we may do have a lot of dialogue about things that are going right, things that we can improve, but at the same time, we really need to make sure that we're reflecting and grounded in data. And so our community needs is one of those things that when we're looking at the demographics in our community, that's going to change from agency to agency in terms of what you need in your particular community. Obviously, as a city of Chicago, we are looking across all of the community areas in which we serve, but it's going to be important to have those viewpoints and vantage points that you provide, because community needs is going to change. But at the same time, we will be looking at the community assessment data. We will be able to make some inferences and decisions based off of the data that's going to be in front of us. The next yellow circle really talks about research base, and best practices in the industry. We're going to need your help with that. Absolutely. Some of you may be participating in other boards, other meetings, other committees, and things like that. Just within your organization, the foundational things that you talk about, even from the Health Service Advisory Council or committees that you're participating in. What are the best practices? What should we be doing? Best practices change. And so they're not necessarily consistent. What was good 10 years ago may not necessarily be the best practice for today. And so we invite you to be able to share those experiences, but also those things that you understand to be relevant for today. And so we're going to ground this in research, and we're absolutely welcoming you to make sure that you are sharing with us the best practices based on your area of expertise. A lot of what we're going to be referencing is going to come from the Head Start program performance standards, the ISB administrative rules as well, and also the Chicago Early Learning Standards. So the yellow is really going to help ground us, but as we kind of look, let's take it back to community assessment, the community needs, and we go to the very first arrow that's going to kind of the center of the stage. I want to take you to the early childhood program, right? Where it's really talking about our early childhood programs. Each of you come from one of our early childhood programs. Each of you also, at the very center of it, everybody has to do that self-assessment. And that's why self-assessment is being centered here. It has to be grounded in us taking that realistic look at ourselves. A part of it, of course, once you do the self-assessment, it is really coming up with that action plan. A part of this process, because the self-assessment happens, we have community, the community needs assessment, which is updated on an annual basis, but the self-assessment process is done annually as well. The action plan should already be determined as you're leading into another grant application cycle year. And so the great thing about what we do in our programs is it's really cyclical, right? It happens every single year. And so we use this information to help build, right, or revise our goals and objectives. Have we met them? When we're looking at what we've done throughout the year, are we on task and on target to make sure that we're accomplishing everything that we set out to do? Is our grant application still relevant, right? The things that we're putting in our grant application, are we living up to that? Are there any modifications that are needed? And so what we do at a community assessment, what we do at a self-assessment and those action plans, they should really be the driver in how I'm going to go ahead and revise any goals and objectives, how I'm going to go ahead and make sure we're on task and on target with our grant application. Because at the end of the day, these grant applications that we have, they usually they're going to carry over from year to year, but we want to make sure that we're measuring the right things. And so again, all of this is cyclical. The program planning cycle is one of those things that once you're in the Head Start program and you're participating in our PFA and PI, what we do it, it kind of goes in that circle where it's going to keep going round and round. Self-assessment happens every year. Community assessment data is updated every year. We have a quinquennial report that's due every 5 years. But at the end of the day, we know that these are certain things that are going to be repetition. And so a part of making sure that we get through this process is making sure that we're grounded in data and we're able to assess whether we're on target with the goals and objectives that we've set in place. Next slide. I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Martise. Thank you.
Thank you. So before you even begin the self-assessment process, so this is the pre-work before the bigger job. So of course you have to gather, the management team needs to convene. You're going to develop a framework for the self-assessment process. You're going to gather all your preliminary data and create summaries of the data related to the areas of focus. The preliminary data includes goals and objectives, the strategic framework, the monitoring process, and the PIR data, which you should be getting. If you have not seen it, you definitely want to reach out to your team lead so that you can get that information and they can review it with you. You also want to look at your child outcomes and then anything else that you feel that's going to benefit your agency. Okay, so here are the phases. So we already talked about the pre, so we need to engage the team. So the director and the management team will prepare the plan and the timeline, which need approval, of course, from the policy council and the governing body. What we're doing right now, of course, we're engaging everybody, like come to the table, let's discuss it. This is our buy-in. I need you to buy into this. Like, yes, we need to assess the program. So getting the team together and establishing roles and responsibilities. Then we're going to design the process, develop the plan, identify and invite internal and external stakeholders. Then we'll move into the third phase. We're going to analyze and dialogue. So the team will take a big picture, look at the data that the program gathered as a part of its ongoing monitoring system, which you all should have established. If not, you can always talk about that later, but you should definitely have something in place. It will consider information that you put together from multiple sources, look at the data over time. So not in a small time period, but at least, over the past few years, you can look back and see what happens, and maybe make some future references. The team members will ask some good questions and dialogue about the success, the patterns and discoveries made through the data. And this is actually the heart of the process. Number 3, right in the middle. And it takes most of the time, of course. And then phase 4, the recommendations, self-assessment, they consolidate discoveries across the teams, prepare final recommendations to inform the program planning. And then of course, 5, prepare the report. Be aware, it's a lot of information, but I know you can do it. You're going to prepare it, submit it to your policy council, and then of course, submit it to the regional office for approval. And then of course, at the end, you're going to do the post self-assessment. And I'm going to pass it to Berenice.
Good morning. Thank you. I hope everyone likes our choice of memes this morning. So I'm going to dive into a little more into the phases. So this first phase, we're here right now. We're engaging the team. So we've identified and invited internal stakeholders as well external. So a lot of the folks sitting here today from the agencies are new. So thank you for being here. We make sure we have at least one member from each program model and option. As well as for CSC, we want to make sure we have people that are representing the content areas or are knowledgeable about the content areas. So as Tiffany has mentioned, we want to make sure that we remain open-minded and that we remain strength-based. Of course, it's important to look and be honest about what are our challenges, but it's also important to also look at our strengths. And just making sure that, we do respect and value the opinion of others and that we give them the safe space to be able to share. And so if we can go on to the next slide. Thank you. So yes, everybody's working hard, especially during this design process. So now that we have our team assembled, we're going to begin formulating the self-assessment process. And there's really, in my mind, 3 components to this process, the tools that we use. And so when we reference tools, we're referring to the report template and the survey questionnaire that everyone should have received already through email. We're asking folks to review those documents and send us any feedback by Monday, the 31st. And we know it's quick, but we need to go ahead and make sure we share that with the agencies so that they can start their self-assessment process as well. I'm going to be delving into those tools just a bit later in today's meeting. The second step I would say for this process is really to look at what is the data that we want to look at. Do we have that data? Who is in charge of that data? It does take a bit of time to make sure that we are collecting it, that we share it, that we analyze it. And so keep in mind what data you'd want to see, or who are the people you'd like to possibly interview. We can always welcome subject matter experts to the table, and we can have a more robust discussion as well. So I would say for quarter two is when we're going to be asking for those requests, so come prepared for that quarter two meeting already with an idea of as to what data you would like to see. And I'll be sure to send out, email reminders and whatnot. So, because I know this is quite a bit of take in. So we are going to be communicating from here to the second quarter. And then the other part of the process is the how to. So as I mentioned previously, this is my fifth now or fourth self-assessment. And so we've pretty much have had the same design. And what I mean by that is that have had this like roundtable discussion, pretty much how we're sitting here today. We all come together and just talk about the specific content areas that we have identified for the day, for the meeting. And that's, we take down the challenges, the strengths, the recommendations, and then we report back. So do we have any other ideas as to how we would like to, design this process? Do we want to stay with the same process that we've done? I mean, if it's not broken, why fix it, right? But this is the opportunity to really kind of, have an input as to this is the process of this. And of course, as I'm sure the agency staff will also consult with their leadership about the process, we do as well. So next slide, please. And I'm going to pass it on to my colleague Sung. He's going to discuss a bit more about this third phase.
Thank you, Bernice. The third phase is the biggest of all the 5 phases that you see. We are analyzing and talking about the data collected, and data are very, very important to the programs that we are running. Some of the list that we have here is that engage in dialogue, probing questions, exploring systemic issues. We discuss the program strengths, weaknesses, challenges, reviews and analyze data, and seek additional data if need be, examining progress and goals and objectives, formulate discoveries. So at this point, we're breaking down apart and looking to deeper of these data to find out what does it tell us. We look at time to discover the trends and patterns, multiple sources of data, to investigate the relationships between 2 or more sources, to pinpoint, and because when we look at just one data set, it doesn't help us much. So we need multiple sources of data to help us guide to a better understanding of what we are understanding, and then make decisions at the time. So analyzing data involved with key questions like, what do we know? What does this data telling us? On the other hand, what don't we know? If additional resources of data, sources of data are available, can we use that? Of course we can. And it will tell us what don't we know and what do we know. And of course, data is always give us some patterns and trends that we can compare to other trends, and patterns and trends we compare either from quarter to quarters or year to year. So these will tell us whether we have a good programs or bad programs, then we make decisions accordingly. I guess that's my part of this part 3, and then I'm going to turn to Bernie with recommendation part, phase number 4. Please.
Thank you, Song. Yes, so you don't need to give your suggestions right now, but we will be looking for them once we've, have dived into the data and have had these amazing, robust discussions. Then we will definitely be looking for your recommendations, your suggestions, and even as when we're in these weekly meetings for the self-assessment, we're definitely going to come up with recommendations, and then these recommendations are going to be taken down. They'll be noted, and once we're ready to provide leadership with the action plan goals, we really prioritize those suggestions, and those suggestions become then the action plan goals. And so, for example, I know Tiffany later in this meeting, she's going to provide us with an update for Q1 action plan goals. So those updates or those action plan goals were created last program year. And so this is what we do right now, when we start gathering the suggestions and they become action plan goals, we'll be reporting these goals that we're going to be creating during this year, next year. And so you'll be able to see that next year when you're on the committee, you'll be able to see the progress updates on those action plan goals that you helped create. So next slide, please. All right. Oh, you know what? I thought I covered his beverage. His favorite beverage there. So once we've, have gathered our data, we've looked at it, then we have created suggestions, then we're ready to create this report. So that task, that daunting task is part of our responsibility, Tiffany and her team. So we'll go ahead and draft that report, as well as based on the recommendations that the committee has provided. And so those recommendations, those action plan goals will be about 3 to 5 goals. And then we'll go ahead and present that report draft to our leadership team, as well as our citywide parent policy committee, so that they can approve it. And then that right there gets that final report approved, gets added to the grantee application. Let's see here. I just want to make sure that I have all my touch points. I do want to make sure that, I mentioned the committee votes as to which action plans, because there's going to be quite a few, as we'll see at the end of the self-assessment process. We might have anywhere from 7 to 10 or 12 recommendations. We would love to have those all in, but it's just not feasible in terms of just resources and time. And so the committee will then vote to have anywhere from 3 to 5 action plan goals, so that we make sure that we update and progress on those. That is it for me. I'm gonna, Latrice will take it over here and share what we do post self-assessment.
Post self-assessment. So at this point, we're going to review the feedback from the committee to help us plan for the next upcoming year. We'll use the self-assessment report to make recommendations to confirm or revise program goals and objectives. So this is the time to make any last minute changes to your work. Communicate the self-assessment insights to staff and other stakeholders. And then, of course, you'll meet quarterly to review progress on the action plan. So are there any questions, ideas, thoughts? What are you thinking? Let us know. Unmute, put in the chat. You can do it. Don't be shy. And I'm actually going to stop sharing because I may have to pull up another document.
Okay, we have a great question here from Tracy. How do we determine what is feasible when it comes to the action plans and recommendations? Tiffany, I don't know if you want to answer this, since I know we go ahead and share those recommendations with leadership as to deciding which ones.
Yeah, I think just as Berenice mentioned, I mean, I think that there's a lot of committee members, right? And, you know, when we start to look at our challenges, there's going to be plenty of recommendations on things that need to be improved. I think that one of the things that we want to be able to take a look at is, you know, making sure that it's going to be needs-based, making sure that it's going to be relevant for the time period in which we're in. Health and safety priorities always take precedent over a lot of other priorities. But we want to make sure that, you know, looking to see where things are trending. And sometimes that is in accordance to like what we're seeing. When I'm talking with other grantees too, Tracy, you know, what are they experiencing? Those who have been, you know, maybe even been through reviews, you know, what's trending now, I think are things that we definitely want to look at. But I never want to forget to make sure that we're grounding our decisions in, you know, in what our communities actually do need. I think that that definitely takes priority over anything else, because our geographic concerns may be different than other geographic concerns. Berenice mentioned that all action plans are then brought to the leadership team. So myself, Soreto, and other leaders of Children's Services Division, and we will take a look at that and weigh them out. But one of the things I do want us to think about in terms of the recommendations that we're making, can we see ourselves accomplishing the goal within a respective 12-month period too, right? Some goals or some recommendations or objectives could be something, a long-term goal. And so timing may play a part too in us being able to see, can we realize that? Can we bring that into fruition? Or is this something that we know will be kind of a goal that may need to be carried over because of the constraints within the recommendations? So I think there's a lot of things that play a part into how we're going to move forward. But I'm going to be excited to tell you kind of what we're working on from last year so that you can kind of see some of the recommendations that were made last year and the goals that we're currently working on. But that's a great question. Any other questions?
Thanks, Tiffany. I have a question that was, and I think you kind of touched on it, is that I wanted to ask about last year's goals and what they were, and were we successful in that? And as you also mentioned too, probably long-term goals, is it something that we may have fallen short under and we're still going to continue on that path in the new year? Yeah, I was just trying to read my notes, but I just wanted to know what the last year's goals were.
Absolutely.
And do we, the other part to that is that with the self-assessment committee, do we report out quarterly where we're at with these goals, identify goals into where we're at and reaching those and obtaining those goals? Or is it just tracked and then reported at the end of the year?
A lot of great questions, Daphne. And so we're going to be exploring this, right? So this committee is going to be a part of the progression of where we're at with goals. So later in this presentation, I will be sharing with you the 4 goals that we currently have in place. And also I will be sharing with you how we track that, right? I want you to see how we go about tracking. What does that mean for us? And we do track them, Daphne, on a quarterly basis. And so, for instance, I believe, and we do it according to the program year. So September, I believe through November, we've already kind of weighed in and kind of given our assessments. And then it'll be December, January, and February. So at the end of February, then that'll be the second quarter that we'll be tracking. But yes, it is incremental, and we will be sharing that with you guys, the progress that's being made or lack thereof. And we'll be able to talk about those things. And I promise you this, as we kind of go on, because of course, you know, we have school readiness goals. So we'll be talking about that in future meetings. We'll be talking about, you know, the 5-year plan that we put in place in our grant application. We'll be talking about all of those things. But today, we've already built into the presentation to talk about those 4 goals that were established last year, and we're going to be happy to talk about. Okay. All right. These are great questions. Any other questions? Don't be shy.
So I have a question. I'm not shy. I am
Okay,
excited to be
Tracy.
here because I do the self-assessment for our agency, and I'm just really trying to understand So the this self-assessment, the idea is to be completed in April, correct? For this.
I'm gonna let Berenice keep me honest with our timeline, and we will be sharing the
Sure.
timeline with you later in the presentation too.
So, right, so the reason why I'm asking that is because, like, for example, we are currently here finishing our community needs assessment process, and we're starting the self-assessment.
Yes.
Has FSS ever looked at the dates of when the delegates do theirs? Because we do it at the same time. And so I just wanted to see, has it ever been looked at to maybe if it's a different time for DFSS than the delegates to see that data? Because I know if this one, my goal is for our self-assessment to be completed by April 11th, because my parent policy meeting is April 14th. So, you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
As far as time and
I
stuff,
do.
I'm just seeing.
I do. And let me just say, Tracy, I want to be considerate of every single body. You guys, I
Mhm.
have 98,
I know.
98 delegates. So
Yes.
I apologize in advance if it doesn't necessarily meet everybody's planning
Right.
cycle. Yes. Do we try to be considerate of that? Absolutely. One of the things that we do for the grantee is yes. So our community assessment update, I have that data already. You're absolutely right. You want to have that foundation, that data already kind of grounded, right? That community assessment data and those updates, those annual updates done as you're going into it. So even though this is our timeline, and like you said, you're the driver of what's happening within your organization, I'm hoping that when we're looking at how we plan, that perhaps is there a way for you to maybe bump something up in terms of your community assessment when you can have that completed? If you know that this is kind of the time period in which you need to start, and also the report needs to be submitted. Maybe we have to work our way backward just to try and see how you can go ahead and kind of get that accomplished in your planning cycle for your organization. But how we do it for the grantee, absolutely, we consider that. And I want to be considerate of the date that we're giving you as well. And if the date, seriously, if we're going through this process, Tracy, and the recommendation for us is, Tiffany, can we move the date? I want to be able to talk about that. You know what I mean? Because I have to go ahead and take a look and see, will we be able to accomplish what we need to accomplish? I need to make sure this is done. As you guys know, the self-assessment report and action plans have to be submitted with the grant application, right? And so that's one of the things I have to ensure that it's done to make sure that we can actually, submit it. But we can definitely be flexible in this space, but how flexible can we be? So keep that, we'll definitely kind of keep that in mind, Tracy, the fact that when we're planning, that we want to be considerate of all things considered. And so just kind of keep us honest with that one. And if there's some room to negotiate moving it a little bit, we can definitely talk about that in the future meeting.
Right. Well, so what I was thinking, because our cycles are kind of on your cycles, you are on your cycle. And
Okay.
so for me, being part of this, the reasoning for me wanting to be a part of this is to kind of see how you guys are aggregating your data and stuff like that, so that it can make mine a little easier. But so, for example, for me, when I think about this, okay, so if you guys are doing yours in April, is this something that we should be doing maybe in January? Then you understand what I mean? Because then maybe you guys will get our information before the one you guys have to do is in April. You see what I mean? Like, is it?
I do see what you mean, but you also have to give your program an opportunity to function, right?
Yes.
And so you don't want to do it too early in the year.
Right.
What are you truly assessing, right? And so we do have to make sure we have enough programming behind us to actually make a proper assessment of what's going on in program year 21-22. So again, we can have further discussions about that if it makes sense. Maybe this will be the year, Tracy, where we use this to say, did this really work for us? What modifications can we make? I'm definitely willing to have those conversations. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah, great question.
These are great.
Yes, and I wanted to add, Tracy, so the agency's self-assessment is due April 15th. And so the reason we have that deadline is so that we can receive the data from the agencies, so that then that data informs our self-assessment. And so That's why we have that deadline, so that it gives us enough time to be able from then April on to assess it, to be able to have that data ready for the self-assessment process. Just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Berenice. And like I said, you know, we're open. And so if April 15th, that date that we always go with, if we need to be looking at, you know, what would be better for the ecosystem, I'm welcome to have those conversations. Absolutely. All right. Any other questions before we, oh, Amina.
Yes, I do have a question. So when is so I hear, you know, when the self-assessment is due in terms of us as a committee and providing the necessary recommendations. But when is the self-assessment and community needs assessment due for delegates for this year?
Delegates for you
Yeah,
guys?
yeah, I'm sorry. Yes.
April 15th.
April 15th. Okay, I wanted to make sure. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Community needs, say,
so usually community needs assessment is done before you even start the self-assessment, because that's the data that you need to reference in order to, you know, to even begin your self-assessment process, because it should be need-based.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, like the data that we're going to be using, we wind up kind of getting our data tables already from Chapin Hall, I want to say, at the end of 2021. Because community needs data is updated on an annual basis. Quinquennial every 5 years, but annual updates to it. And so we got our refreshed data at the end of 2021.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, these are great questions.
Or Berenice, I have a quick question, and it may just be out there. I know we're talking about our self-assessment team here at the department, but I'm just curious about subrecipients in their partner sites. How does that piece tie in with their self-assessment and that whole thing? Maybe that's another kind of conversation, but just a thought or question for me.
Yeah, I think that's a good question too, Daphne. And I would just about imagine everybody may be doing it a little different. Just to think about too, I know Berenice, when we first started this process, she told me, she says, Tiffany, we need to have somebody from a partner site on our self-assessment. We had a vacancy for a partner. And so I contacted my good friend Amina and said, Amina, you guys have a lot of partners over there at Ada. And so Amina was able to go ahead and connect one of her partners with us, Ms. Purnell, and thank you so much for volunteering to be on the self-assessment. I would like to go ahead and use that as, you know, our grounds for, you know, how are we, right, being inclusive of our partners in a meaningful way? Because if we are contracting out, right, some of our funding to be able to, and some of our programmatic responsibilities into our partners, we absolutely need to make sure that we're folding them into a self-assessment process. That may look different for different delegates on how they do it, but I'm happy to say at least at the grantee level, we were able to go ahead and bring a partner in. I'm hoping that we're going to get valuable insight on things that we should be doing, improvements that can be made, so that can go ahead and kind of carry us forth as well. And so, like I said, this is going to be one of those spaces where I want people to come and be honest about things that we could be doing better to make sure that everybody is feeling and being touched by what self-assessment is supposed to be, which is that monitoring, right? That we're monitoring ourselves. So I'm excited to see what will come out of that, but I'm sure there's going to be more discussions to come about how this information is trickling down and trickling up as well. On that note, we are going to go ahead and switch gears. And so, Martise.
Thank you. So we're switching gears. Does anybody need to take a quick stretch before we dive into the other half, the last 30 minutes of the race? We can do this. You need to wiggle your fingers, your toes, shake the sillies out, as they say. But Berenice is going to close us out and just review the report with you and the survey questions and the process. And I know that each of you have received it. And if you did not, please let us know so that we can get the proper documents to you.
Thank you, Matrice. So I'm going to just quickly review this because I know we have about 30 minutes, but everyone should have received, as Patrice mentioned, the report template. It's this is the first page of the report that you see. It's a 2-pager. That's just the contact information. It has just an overview of like when is it due, how to save it, where to submit it, who to contact if you need, if you have any questions or need an extension of deadline. And then that second page is really outlines, you know, the introduction. That's pretty much just general information like your vision, mission statements, your program options, funded enrollment, your list of center locations, and really what you think the benefits of your self-assessment is or was. Then we move on to the process. We want to know, you know, list the participants and their titles in your self-assessment, provide your time frame, your timeline, list the data you collected, any tools that you used, in addition to ours, list any additional information that you used during the self-assessment. And then we move on to your key insights. So we want to know your strengths of the program, your systemic issues, and describe how your agency will address the challenges. And then we want to know the progress of the program meeting in terms of your goals and objectives for 21-22. And then lastly of this report, we want to know your recommendations, being your action plan. So that's really what we follow as well and what agencies follow. So we fill out this report template and we also ask agencies to fill this out. So this information also informs our self-assessment. The next slide shows the survey questions. We decided to share it in a Word document first for everyone because of usability. As you know, when you're in SurveyMonkey or any survey program, sometimes, you know, it won't allow you to go to the next section unless you have filled it out. And sometimes you just need to have, you know, fill out all your questions first, and then you can copy and paste into the survey. So again, we also provided this survey document to everyone. If you didn't, please reach out to me and I'll be sure to send it. We're asking folks to really take a close look at this document because this really is where we're getting some very important data from agencies. It was very intentional in the way that we designed it. We looked at the Head Start focus area 1 and 2 in regards to the questions that they had. Then we went to leadership and asked, okay, these are the questions that we have. How can, you know, we better tailor it to what our, you know, focuses are or what our objectives or goals so that they better align to that. Then we wanted to make sure we had not only qualitative questions, but really quantitative questions. So if you see an opportunity here in this survey to make a qualitative question to quantitative, please reach out, share that suggestion. So the way that it was designed, there's in total 41 questions. The survey is designed based on content areas. So this first content area is program governance. So any PFA or PI folks do not need to fill out this section. It is only for Head Start agencies. Then we have design management and quality improvement. And we move on to family and community engagement. Then education, health, URSEA, and those are content areas. So that makes 41 questions along with the contact info question. So let me just say, I believe Tracy, you probably, since you've done your agency self-assessment, you probably remember a survey where we had maybe about 100 questions. So we have tried over the years to really streamline this survey. But again, we ask for your input and suggestions. Please submit them to us by Monday, the 31st. And the reason we have that deadline is because we understand that agencies are also gearing up to do their self-assessment. So we want to get these two documents, these tools out to agencies so that they have enough time to utilize these tools and plan their self-assessment. So I'm just going to pause here for a moment and ask if there's any questions right now about those two tools. If you don't have questions, but if you do while you're reviewing these documents, again, please feel free to reach out. You can reply all or just the CSD self-assessment staff. All right, so this timeline really just indicates what we're looking at tentatively as our self-assessment process. So this is our Q1 meeting, and we've done this training overview that you're experiencing here right now. We've introduced the self-assessment tools, as I just did, and now we're discussing the process a bit. Tiffany will then go into the Q1 updates at the end of this meeting. So then our Q2 meeting comes in. That's where we're really going to finalize our process. We're going to be asking for data input. And agencies are going to be definitely way on their way into creating or finalizing their self-assessment. As you can see, the agency self-assessment is due on the 15th of April. Then we have here outlined 4 meetings for the self-assessment process where we're going to be diving into the content areas. And how we do that, again, we can determine in that second quarter meeting. Then for quarter three, excuse me, we're going to be finalizing the recommendations for the action plan based on all the suggestions that the committee has voted on. Then just a side note here, we're going to be finalizing the CSD self-assessment report, and we're going to be sharing that out with the committee again to just make sure they review any changes, and then we'll be sharing it with leadership and CPPC for final approval. That date is tentative. And then lastly, our Q4 meeting will be in September, really just as a meeting to kind of debrief this process that we've just experienced, gone through. And that's all that I have for now in terms of self-assessment process. Are there any questions? All right, so I'm going to take that silence as no. I know that we still have some items to finish up, so I'm going to go ahead and give the floor over to Tiffany.
All right, what a party we are having, guys. Now we're going to get into these goals. A part of the goals, I just want to let you know that there's 4 goals that were determined last year. And so I'm going to be walking you through what those goals look like. But also, you know, before I'm walking you through it, I want you to understand the data literacy behind it. So I'll be explaining what things mean, how we structured this so that it makes sense to you, right? Because once I show you one and I show you how it's structured, then all the other ones, as far as the status, will make sense. But on that very first one, I do want to take the time to go over that data literacy piece and see if you have any questions about how to read the data, okay? I hope that's fair. After all, this is a party. And at any point during the party, if you want to go ahead and show your emojis, please go ahead and feel free to do that if it makes sense to you. Put your hands together. You know, if it makes sense to do a thumbs up, go ahead and do that too. But we'll try and make this as interactive as we can. And again, let me know if you have any questions, because I want to make sure that you understand how it's set up. All right, let's do it. So our very first goal, our action plan goal, this is our goal 1. Gold 1, and I know this is very small. Keep in mind, we're going to get this out to all of you. But at the very top, it says ongoing monitoring. So the goal itself is representing in the ongoing monitoring section. And then it says goal 1, strengthening ongoing monitoring at the grantee level by enhancing DFSS's monitoring system to ensure that home-based, home visiting programs are monitored for quality programming and compliance. So very specific. The relevant standard that's tied to it is 1302.101, management systems cross-reference with the CELS 2.0. The expected outcome is that the Chicago Early Learning home-based and home visiting programs will meet DFSS performance requirements for program operations. And this also includes our doula programs. So this is obviously for a certain segment of our delegate agencies. Not all of our delegate agencies have home-based or home visiting programs. And certainly not all of our delegate agencies have a doula program. So very specific. We will go into the very first column. Well, the next set of columns here where it starts with objectives. We're going to be going through what those objectives are. The next column in green represents the action steps that's going to take us in order to achieve that objective. We've identified who is the lead person who is responsible for this particular action step, goal, or objective. And we've also identified the time frame, which is our program year, right? 21-22. So the program year, not to be confused with the calendar year, not to be confused with our fiscal year. The program year is when we started at the beginning of our program, which, you know, most of you, it was in August to align with our CPS partners for the beginning of our program year. And that, of course, that's going to go ahead and carry us throughout. Any resources or budget that need to be identified, if we're going to be using particular, you know, an outside source or something like that, then there may be some additional cost to that. And so that particular column is for us to identify the resource. I believe most of the resources that are identified are going to be internal. And so we have the skill set internally to be able to achieve the objectives. The next is really going to talk about monitoring actions. If there's any type of actions that we need to take in order to make sure that we're achieving those objectives and action steps, then we can identify them there. If there's any crucial deadlines, you know, then we need to go ahead and identify them in the deadline column. Then the next set where it says progress updates. So in the progress update section, you'll see, to Daphne's point, you know, how are we looking at this information? Are we looking at, you know, data at the end of the year? Are we looking at it on a quarterly basis? And you'll see here that we've identified the different quarters. And so I mentioned that quarter 1 really starts in September to November. I do want to keep in mind that there's a slight modification because we did start programming here at the end of August this year. So it really will be representative of the first day that you actually started your program, which would be the end of August through November. Then the second quarter, we're in quarter 2 currently. And so the work that we're currently doing and we'll be able to report out on by the next self-assessment committee meeting, we will be able to report out then on Q2 or quarter 2 data, because that data is from December to February. Our Q3 or quarter 3 data period is going to be progress that's made from March to May. And then our Q4 data is going to be a progress that's made from June to August. And so that is the progress updates periods. And as you see, we have data in the first column for Q1. I want to talk about really, really quickly how we rate or provide a status. What does it mean? So you'll see on the screen, you see, you know, Ds, you'll see IP. I want to talk to you about what that means. So IP itself, it represents in progress. So if an action step or an objective is still in progress, then we can go ahead and use the initials IP, which means in progress. The other status that you may see could be in RA. RA references revised action. So if we've had to make a correction or update or an action item, then we go ahead and use the RA reference. You know, maybe we're going on throughout the year and realize that maybe this isn't the right thing that we need to be measuring. Maybe it needs to be tweaked a little bit. You don't see it used often, but this is a status that could be used. So RA. The next one is a D. If you see a D there, D stands for delayed. And so if a objective is maybe premature, it is perhaps not in action at this point, maybe because of some other pressing issues, then you may see D being displayed. But that, like I said, it also could mean that an item is premature as well. It's not ready for that particular thing to be categorized yet. You may see CO. CO itself stands for carried over. So if it's something that has been carried over from a previous quarter, then you could go ahead and use the term CO for carried over. C, that C is what we're aiming for, and the C means complete. So if something is marked as a C, that means that we have achieved that particular objective in action steps. The other thing that I wanted to go ahead and put you on alert with is the colors that we use. We have 3 different units within Children's Services. And so when you see white, white generally is going to tell you that it's our program operations team. Blue is going to reference program development and quality unit. And then red is typically going to go ahead and let you know that it's a work stream for program administration. So just wanted to let you know that the colors do mean something for us. And so hopefully that kind of helped to be able to explain what we're doing. And I'm not expecting for you guys to remember any of these statuses or any of these colors. When you get the slides, you'll see the toolbar that's listed below. And you see it on the screen now at the bottom. So all of the toolbar to help explain what those statuses mean, what the color coordination means, they're there for you to go ahead and see, and this information will be sent to you directly. Now that we've kind of got that out of the way, now I'm going to go ahead and jump into the work, right? So if you can go back to the previous slide, great. So like I mentioned, goal 1, we have 4 different goals. So goal 1 is about ongoing monitoring, but specific to our home base and home visiting programs. So the very first objective that we're going to be measuring, the first one says educate and inform monitoring team of the home base home visiting program expectations related to COPA data entry, preliminary requirements. And so the action step, it's just use home base and home visiting monitoring tools and set data entry required fields and timelines for completion. I mentioned the person responsible will be in this column. So Elaine Millsap Parker will be the lead. And of course, she'll be working with others in order to achieve this particular one. When it comes to the different resources that she needs, she's going to be relying on CELS, so our Chicago Early Learning Standards. She's also going to be relying on the home visiting or home-based guidance that we have in place. And she also will be needing to cross-reference with our program admin, which is my unit, and also program development and quality units as well, in order to get this work done. And a part of that is because our program admin team, when it comes to data, for instance, COPA data, that's something that happens in our program admin division. When it comes to the quality of our programs and how they're running, then our program development and quality team is responsible for that work. So really these 3 units are really intersecting on this piece. So it's very critical for us all to work together. The monitoring actions, just to ensure compliance with regulations. So the first quarter, we're delayed in this particular action. That's what the D stands for, delayed. Okay, we'll go into the second objective. The second one is to ensure grantee and agency staff are aware of the knowledgeable about the home visiting and home-based monitoring requirements. And so the action step for this is to conduct webinars and data clinics. The person who's responsible is William Hill, and the resources that are needed, again, CELS, home visiting guidance, program admin, our communications unit will be assisting, and also our program development and quality unit. The monitoring actions, we'll be looking at training evaluations to get feedback from those webinars and data clinics. In addition to that, CSD reports from our monitoring team and also any grantee feedback that we receive. So for Q1, we're actually in progress with this one. So this is great. This one is flowing. Our third objective is to refine and enhance home-based or home visiting policy and procedure, and that includes doula. So we're needing to, the action step is that we need to draft policies and procedures for review and dissemination and then finalize. The people responsible are Saretho, our deputy commissioner, and also Stacy Lind, our project coordinator. What do we need in order to accomplish this? Again, cells and the home visiting guidance. As far as the monitoring actions, that's to be determined, but this is actually an item that's in progress. The fourth objective is to educate the grantee and agency staff on doula and home-based home visiting policy and procedure. The action step is to conduct training on the doula home visiting and also the home-based model. Saretha and Stacy are also leading that work. And the units that are needed is going to be our program quality unit. It's currently in progress. We have the last objective on here. It has a lot of different steps though, but the fifth one is to implement an internal monitoring system. Let's go to the next slide. Yep, there we go. To implement an internal monitoring system that will support Children's Services Division with quality of feedback and discovery of subrecipients, our delegate agencies, the needs to support to maintain a quality program. And so there's 4 different action steps here. One action step is to develop an integrated stage-based framework to engage in the exploration of current policies and systems for supporting quality programming. And so William Hill is going to help us lead that work. What does he need, right? He's going to be looking at the implementation framework itself. We're going to be sending a SurveyMonkey out, so he'll be looking at the data from that, and also eClick. In terms of those additional items, he's going to be looking at, compiling different spreadsheets to look at the data and some other tracking. So right now, this item is delayed. And as you see all down there, the rest of these items are delayed, but I at least want to go ahead and mention that this is work, when you see again the blue, that this is for our program quality, our program development and quality unit. But we're going to be creating surveys for subrecipients and internal units to provide additional feedback. We're going to also create a quality and assurance committee that's represented by all internal units. So that's some additional work that has to be done. And we're going to be creating a plan of action with goals and objectives. And so William Hill, he's going to be helping to guide this work. And, we're in the phases of kind of getting those things rolled out, at least during that first quarter. Keep in mind that we're reporting on first quarter, which is the September through November. So Q2, some of these things might have already gotten started, but we're not reporting out on Q2 just yet, right? Because Q2 does end at the end of February. So that's how you read the particular work. That's goal 1. And so now I'm going to go ahead and just kind of speed it up, because you guys will get an opportunity to see all of what these goals mean. But I at least wanted to go ahead and give one thorough one before I kind of go into the other ones. The second goal is under human resources. You'll see that at the very top of the screen, human resources. So goal 2, strengthen human resources at the grantee level to ensure that all CEL programs have an accurate and updated professional development plan to support and ensure staff will meet or are meeting program qualifications. So the relevant standards, 1302.91 and also 1302.92, human resource management, and it's cross-referenced with the CEL 2.0. The expected outcome, programs will have active, accurate, and updated professional development plans designed to obtain required program qualifications by 2024, which is something that when we did the CEL RFP of 2019, we talked about that 2024 deadline, and our contracts align with those 2024 deadlines as well. Again, you guys will get an opportunity to see what those objectives are, those action steps, people responsible for the work, and also the status. We want you to go ahead and make sure that you're noting what these statuses are. If a project is currently being delayed, if they're in progress, if they actually have been completed, we want you to be able to see that. And so you'll be able to see that information and be able to check progress and ask questions along the way. Next slide. So goal 3 is around data. Goal 3 itself, strengthening data, record keeping and reporting at the grantee level by refining and educating the grantee and program staff on data entry requirements and time frames. Relevant standards 1302.101, program management, and we do cross-reference that with CELS 2.0. The expected outcome is for grantee and agency staff can retrieve and utilize timely and accurate data that can be used for planning and reporting purposes. This is going to be a good one as well. Data always is. We want to make sure that we kind of get that to you. Again, I want you to look at the, the statuses under Q1 to kind of see some things are already completed, other things have been delayed, some things are in progress. But you guys will get an opportunity to be able to see what that work is, who's leading the work, and our progress in meeting it. So we look forward to kind of bringing you that information. Our last goal is goal 4. And I'm happy to be able to talk about that one because that is like a carryover goal. It's something that we're continuing, the work that we're continuing doing. And so goal 4 talks about ensuring that agencies have created their 4-year implementation plans related to the 5-year goals and objectives regarding continuity of relationships, reducing family service workers' caseload, credentials, so on and so forth, right? So when our agencies wind up getting awarded the contract that came out of the 2019 RFP, there were specific goals that are in there. And this is what we're talking about. The relevant standard is 1302.102. And the expected outcome is to reduce teacher turnover, improve outcomes for children, and improve outcomes for families. But again, you'll get an opportunity to take a look and get a deeper dive into those objectives, the action steps, the people who are going to be leading the work, and also our progress along the way. So I'm super excited about these 4 goals. And I'm going to stop there because you all will be getting these slides and you'll have an opportunity to take a deeper dive and to be able to ask your questions, as we go on this journey together. Stop there just to see if there's any questions.
So we have a question from Tonko. Do nationwide agencies work on getting the data in the same form, or is this unique to Chicago?
I'm sorry, Berenice, could you say that one more time?
Sure. Do nationwide agencies work on getting the data in the same form, or is this unique to Chicago?
Oh, so the standards itself says that everybody has to have a self-assessment, but it doesn't necessarily tell you how you go about doing it. So based on my experience in working with other grantees across the nation, they're going to do it differently. They're going to develop their own tools as they see fit on how they're going to go ahead and accomplish it. And that's okay. I think, the biggest thing is making sure that you develop a system. And a part of the process, remember Berenice talked about in the timeline about debriefing the process. We debrief the process because we want to know, is it going well? What are things that we need to change, right? Are there any improvements? What really worked in this process? And we want to hear all those things because it helps us refine the system then for the next year. So nationwide, no, people are definitely doing it differently, and that's okay. We just want to make sure that the system has been developed, well developed, and everybody has a self-assessment process in place. But great question. All right. I know that we're kind of nearing the end here. Just wanted to go ahead and let you all know that the report and survey feedback is going to be due on Monday, January the 31st by close of business. We're hoping that you guys could take a look at that information, get us some feedback. We need to roll it out to our delegate agencies. So we're going to be super excited to see that. So thank you for partnering with us in that way. The next meeting is going to be our Q2 Self-Assessment Committee meeting, and that's going to be March the 23rd. It's going to be from 9:30 to 11, just like today. We're going to be excited to see all of your faces. But in the meantime, right, if you receive this information and you have questions of us, please feel free. We're partners in it with you. And so this is not just from meeting to meeting. You can communicate with us. You can communicate with us throughout as well. If you have questions, do not hesitate to let us know. Next slide. Just want to thank you. Really take the opportunity to thank you. Thank you for coming to the self-assessment party, because it is a party. We're super excited. Thank you for agreeing to take this journey with us, whether you are volunteering or you've been voluntold. We still appreciate you nonetheless. With that being said, the information for Children's Services, it is there on the screen. And we want you to know that we appreciate each and every one of you for joining us today. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and see if there's any lingering questions before we go ahead and end you promptly 2 minutes after. All right. I'm going to take silence as golden. Thank you guys again for joining the Self-Assessment Committee. You all have a